You are listening to Three Kitchens podcast, hosted by Heather Dyer and Erin Walker. To find our complete catalog of episodes, check out any of your favorite podcast players.
Or our website, threekitchenspodcast.com.
All right, here we are, Heather and Erin, your wonderful hosts of Three Kitchens podcast. And the two of us are cooking up some food again today.
Well, one of us is doing the cooking.
Oh,
surprise!
Yeah. Surprise! We're doing food today.
You know that meme you see online all the time? It's like the audio that people put with all kinds of things, and it just says, surprise, surprise.
I never listened to the audio on social
Sometimes
media
you
stuff.
should.
I know.
You
I just...
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't have.
Surprise, surprise. Okay.
Heather's our
Maybe
audio.
I'll put it in
our
I'll put it in the reel for this episode if I remember. I probably won't remember, so don't hold me to anything.
Okay, perfect. You got it. So I'm going to make something that we've made many iterations of before.
Oh.
Which is kind of a fun... It made me laugh because when I first picked out this recipe, I was like, oh my goodness, I'm going to do another one of these. I'm going to make another type of pancake.
Oh, for a second, I was like quickly thinking, what's she going to say?
What could it be? What could it be? Yeah.
I'm like, is she making more empanadas?
No.
Oh.
Sorry.
A pancake.
Another type of pancake.
Have we done pancakes?
How many different types of pancakes have we made on this podcast?
I don't, well, okay, there were the, what were those Dutch ones?
The pancakes.
Pancakes. Yep.
Ding, ding. I've got them written down on a list here, so I'm testing you.
Pancakes. I honestly can't think of them.
All right. Well, let me share with you.
Okay.
Other than the pancakes, we have made the strawberry caramel pancakes that were the Norwegian ones with the Norwegian brown cheese caramel sauce.
Those were like...
They were kind of like a crepe.
I remember saying, or at least thinking, it was like one of the best things I'd ever eaten in my life. Oh,
we also had like a sugar high when we talked about that episode because we were both just blazed on those things. The sugar content in those was a little high.
Through the roof.
Through the roof. Okay, you made red velvet pancakes for Valentine's Day.
Did we do an episode about those?
I don't believe you did an episode, but the recipe's on our blog.
Okay.
So you can look that up. I made Japanese pancakes that had a red bean paste in them.
Oh, yeah.
Back for an episode for Halloween, I believe. It was the Beanie Halloweeny.
Yes, I remember. And then I took that just outside the podcast and made a mochi waffle with the bean paste inside. Both of those
that bean paste
anybody's
was killer.
Dream breakfast. Oh my God.
Yeah. So good. You made, not on the podcast, but on our website, you've got a Dutch baby.
Oh, so good.
Which
I make it.
I don't know why, but that name always makes me laugh.
It's cute.
It's a
Dutch
name.
baby.
It's a Dutch baby. All right. And then we also made a savory Vietnamese crepe called Ban Sao way back in the first season of Three Kitchens podcast. And honestly, that's one of my favorite things that we've made. I think that was a fantastic recipe.
I need to make that again.
I know, me too. I think I'm going to wait for fresh mint because I remember there was mint in there. Anyway, and then this doesn't really count maybe, but on our website we do have a recipe for pancake mixed donuts because you have the child that won't eat pancakes, but they'll eat them now. Donuts.
That was the past.
That was in the past.
He now eats pancakes, but he used to not. And so I would put them into a donut pan and bake them. And I also put them in a mini muffin tin and we called them Timbits.
Yes.
Which are donut holes.
Heather was doing all the winning in lying to her children as a parent. Everyone,
I mean, if I'm disguising pancakes,
so awesome. I know.
What is my life? We're beyond that now, at least. He's older. You'll eat all the things. Well, almost.
Almost. So there we go. We've got all these different pancakes.
Mm.
Erin, what other kind of pancake could you possibly be making? Let me tell you, Heather.
Okay.
I'm going to make Chinese scallion pancakes, green onion pancakes.
Yes.
And when I first thought of this, because I saw them at the freezer case in the store, like you could buy the pre-made ones that are in the freezer and you warm them up and da-da-da, they go with your dim sum super fast and easy. And I thought, ooh, I'm going to make those. And then I laughed at myself like, oh my God, not another pancake on the podcast. But when I looked at the recipe, it's really different in how you put them together. It's not a batter per se that you make in the same way that we make pretty much every other pancake we've made. So let's go down another pancake route. A dough and a filling that you're going to make. And so this method tells me that we are going to roll out the dough, spread that filling on top of it, very much like I'm going to think a cinnamon roll, although I haven't done this yet, so maybe not, but that's what it sounds like to me. So that you've kind of got this swirl of flavor in this disc. That's what it sounds like to me. So now you're going to have a very different kind of pancake going on.
This is interesting. You know, when you first said dough, I was going to say, do you mean batter? Like pancake from a dough is interesting. That's different.
Yeah. So it's totally, so which is why I was, at first I was like, there's no way I'm going to make another pancake on our podcast. We have killed pancakes 7 different ways. Nope. We haven't. We have not done every pancake out there yet, nor will this complete all the pancakes that are possible.
No, you reminded me of one that I had on the back of my mind to make. It's also a savory pancake. So it's not like this at all, but.
Oh, how fantastic. Let's make some spring onion pancakes.
I love it.
Oh, yay, I'm so excited. The
Yeah.
pancakes, so easy. And I really like how they're made. They're a totally different pancake than all the other pancakes I've ever made. So, first I started out by making this dough, which is really simple. 2 cups of flour, half a teaspoon of salt. Mix that together in your bowl, and then you're going to start by adding in half a cup of boiling hot water until you get that all to combine. So you kind of are drizzling this in as you're stirring your flour around. And then you add in a 1/4 cup of cold water. And again, stir. I used a fork for this. And then once you've got enough water in there that all your dough comes together, you can scrape it out of your bowl and just knead it together. And it makes this delicious dough that's so much fun to play with. And you put it into a little ball, set it aside, cover it. It's got to rest for 20 minutes. What do you do while it's resting for 20 minutes? You make the filling.
Onions and such.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is already such a different recipe for what I think of as a pancake.
Exactly. You're making a dough, but it's not a yeast dough, and it's not thin like a batter would normally be for most of the pancakes we use. Okay, so the filling that you're going to put into this, you're going to mix together in a small bowl 1/3 cup of all-purpose flour, 1/4 cup of your favorite oil. So I used sunflower oil in this, but they recommend peanut oil, olive oil, coconut oil. You could do melted butter. You could do it with lard, I think.
Okay.
I kind of feel like it's good I didn't go down the lard pathway because I might have liked these even more. So sunflower oil sounds like a good choice. So I went with that. And then 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt. So you're just making this very thin, oily flour salt mixture. Okay, and then 8 green onions split down the middle and chopped up. You want about 1 cup of these to make the batch. So you want about 1 cup of the green onions for these 6 pancakes. So I would recommend if you, depending on what your spring onions look like, because they vary quite a bit.
Hmm.
If you get the bigger ones, you'll probably need less. If they're little tiny thin guys, you'll need more. But just cut off the root end, cut off the tip if it's gone mushy or
Wrinkly.
wrinkly, and just chop it
Mhm.
all up, pop it into a container, and there you go. That takes you about 5 minutes, so then you have to be patient for 15 while your dough is resting. All right, so once you've got your dough, it's sat for 20 minutes, you're going to knead it again until it is nice and smooth. So if I think I just put mine in a bowl with a plate on top as my makeshift keep the moisture in while it sat. So take it out of there, knead it for a minute until everything is smooth, and then cut the dough into 6 pieces because this recipe is going to make 6 pancakes. And I think they're between 75 and 80 grams a piece. I did them by weight. I think I would just kind of ballparked it around there. So they were all about the same size. And you're going to start by taking one of the balls while the rest of the balls are sitting underneath of a paper towel, or not, sorry, a tea towel or something so that they're not getting dry. Oh,
Okay.
don't put them between wax paper. That's what
Oh,
I learned the first time because they stuck to the wax paper and then there was a
I
little bit of
hate
that.
wax paper.
What does it
Can I just
exist for?
say,
We
yeah, it never
really
works. We've talked
never.
about this before
I
because it's
think
so,
parchment works good,
yeah,
but wax
wax paper
paper,
sticks to everything. I
yeah.
don't get it.
Okay, so keep your little pre-weighed balls set aside and you start with pressing it down and rolling it out until you get a nice thin rectangle that's about 6 inches by 10 inches.
Oh.
So you're gonna just, it's a very springy dough
Mm.
in that like you roll it out and then it goes back together again. And so you don't want to dust your counter with more flour or what have you while you're doing this. So you kind of, I was rolling it out and then you could peel it up off the counter. And then as you did that, it would shorten back up again. And then you put it down and you roll it out, both pick it up. And so it was just a process of lots of rolling and picking up and rolling and picking up until you get this nice thin rectangle. Once you've got this thin rectangle, you then take your flour, salt, and fat paste, and you put about a tablespoon of that onto your dough and spread it out with the back of the tablespoon. So now
Hmm.
you've got this layer of fat.
Okay.
One thing that I noticed was that because this was flour, salt, and fat, the salt doesn't dissolve into there. It kind of settles down at the bottom.
Mm.
And you want that salt evenly distributed in that fatty layer. So either really mix that salt in every time you spread this layer down,
Okay.
or, and I haven't tried this yet, but I think I might, omit the salt from that mixture and
Oh,
just sprinkle the salt on
yeah,
when you
that
lie
makes
this fat
sense.
down. That might be easier.
And then you know how much you're getting
And then you know
on.
how much you're getting,
Yeah.
right? And I like I usually have like a coarser salt because then it
Hmm.
adds like a big pop of salty flavor rather than evenly distributed iodized salt or whatever.
Hmm.
So that would be my recommendation there. All right. Once you've got that fat on there, you're going to take a couple tablespoons. It was like 2 hand pinches of green onions. It was enough to lie along the longest side and the shortest side in an L shape.
Okay.
So you've got this square, it
Hmm.
has fat all along it, and then an L shape of onions.
Hmm.
At this point, you are going to then roll up along that long side. You're going to pull your dough and put those onions inside that dough, and you're going to roll them up into this tube. And so you kind of pull back and roll and pull back and roll, and you
Okay.
kind of have to do that all the way along. And then you do that again until it's all rolled up. Now, the one end that was the short end that had all the onions in it, start there and press it down and then press all the way along so that that little rope is now kind of a flattened log. Pinch that end that had the onions in it, give it a pull, and then start curling this up into like a cinnamon bun.
Wow, this is very cool. I like this. It's so different.
So it's kind of what I like to think of what we're doing is it's like making a laminated pastry dough because you've got a very thin dough that has not much for fat in it. And then you are rolling this fat layer into the dough. So it's this little tiny layers all rolled up and coiled in there with your green onions and then circled around.
Yeah, so weird.
So
I
interesting.
think it's so funny because that one end,
Yeah.
like I can almost picture it being all along the long side and then rolling it in. But to
Yeah.
put it also on one
And the
end,
one end,
so weird.
but it
But
works.
that's going to end up being in the middle.
That's kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
And it does. So once you've got your little, so you've got a little cinnamon bun.
Okay.
Now you, wherever you're keeping your dough off to the side, open it up. Put the cinnamon bun or the green onion bun in there and grab your next piece of dough and do this rectangle fat layer, green onion, roll, flatten,
This is a bit of
curl.
work.
It's a little bit of work, but it's a little bit greasy too, let me say.
Oh.
Using that fatty layer and you're gonna get greasy, your counter is gonna get greasy. Just stay in greasy land the whole time until you're done. Don't try to wash off your hands because you'll just get frustrated like I did. So then once you've got all these little buns that are all curled up, you're going to get your pan ready. So take your cast iron pan, pop it on the stove, and again with the same oil that you used in your pancake, just coat the bottom of your pan. I'd say you probably don't even have to go as far as they mentioned in this as like coating the whole bottom in a layer of oil. I was a little less generous with it just because it's a lot of oil. Oil is really expensive right now. Has anybody else noticed this? So you don't have to use like quite as much. Get the oil in your pan heating up and then grab one of your little cinnamon buns and smush it flat. And then grab your rolling pin and roll it out. And roll, lift it, turn it, roll, lift, turn. You're going to get this flat, greasy disc that's got these onions curled around in it because you did that whole thing. And once you've got it all flattened, and it's about 7 or 8 inches in diameter, you've got your hot pan. You're going to pick it up, put it in your hot pan, and just kind of like swirl it around at the very beginning as it starts to fry. So you put it in, it's going to go, you move it around just a little bit so the oil is coated evenly on the bottom. Pop a lid on.
Okay.
Keep that lid on for 1 minute. After 1 minute, take the lid off and cook it until it's brown on the bottom. Another 3 minutes, more or less. Then you're going to flip it, lid on. 1 minute, lid off, and then you're going to press on your pancake so that it gets nice and evenly browned on that bottom side. And then you're just going to keep kind of like turning and flipping it and pressing it until it's totally cooked and nice and evenly browned. And then pop it off onto a cooling rack and move on to your next one. So you kind of do these little steps where you do all the making of the buns, then you roll and cook, and then once everything's cooked, it can just cool down, and then you can store them and eat them as you wish. I'm going to make this, yeah, this is all at once. The first batch I made, so it made 6. I cut off a little piece of the first one that came out, and I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. I love this. So I ran outside. I shared some with my husband because I force feed him all the time. And he was like, wow, those are really good. You know what? Those would be really good with sour cream. And I was like,
Mm.
oh man, no kidding. So I finished cooking up the rest of them. And then I went to go exchange food with you down in the park. By the time I came home, Heather, there were no more pancakes left because the
Oh.
entire family ate the rest. I got one little tiny triangle.
No. All
Can
that
you
work.
believe those jerks? So I went and made another batch for that night for dinner.
Just for yourself. You're like,
I
nobody
was
else
like,
gets any. It's all
nobody
mine.
touch my pancakes.
Oh, that sounds like so much work. How long did it take you?
Question. It was probably about an hour with the rest time in there.
Hmm.
Maybe about an hour. And then the cooking was another 30 minutes because it
Hmm.
takes about 5 minutes for every pancake in the pan. So, I mean, if you really, I mean, I think about this, if it was a commercial level, you'd have a grill and you'd
Hmm.
just be popping these on here and you could cook up lots at once. But
Yeah.
because we've just got one little pan that we're cooking in, the cooking was another 30 minutes on top of that. So about an hour and a half.
Hmm.
But
That's
next
actually
time I
not as
make
long as it
these,
sounded like it might have been. And I'm sure when you know what you're doing, then it's
once,
faster,
yeah,
right?
the first time I did it, for sure, I was like looking at reading the instructions, being like, I do what now? I do
Yeah.
what now? But then once I had it down, I was like, oh, this all makes sense. And you just kind of, you know, roll, sprinkle, splat. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, these were so delicious.
Were these not so good?
I kind of did the opposite to me. I gave my husband a little like triangle. I was like, oh, you got to try this. And then he was off doing something and he came back and he's like, was there any more of those? I'm like, no. He's like, you ate them all. Like, yes. I
Yes, I
couldn't help
did.
myself.
Once
I
you
was like
start, you
pulling it
cannot
off and
stop.
like just kept eating them. Oh, yum. Yum. So
So
good.
delicious.
Hmm.
So cool because it's making this wonderful dough that has all these layers in them. And then you roll those layers flat and you get that like crispy and chewy and the green onion in there. Oh,
Mm,
I'm sold. Sold. I'm
yum.
going to be making a double batch of these next. I'm not just making six, I'm making 12. And
So good.
I'm thinking once I make them, if I'm gonna go through the whole shebang to make 12, I might actually do this in two pans on the stove just to, well, so that I'm not on the stove for an entire hour timing and cooking these things.
I can just picture you got two
Oh my God. I'm
going.
gonna have two pans, gonna be
You're like
rolling like a
flipping
crazy
this
lady.
one, flipping that one, like a DJ.
Oh, right.
Like I'm such a DJ, I know what
Mix
I'm doing.
master Erin over
Yeah.
here. I am gonna make these all up in
Mm,
two pans, and then I think if there are extras, I can freeze them
mm.
because
These would be great
then
for like hiking, just because
I know
they're good cold too.
they
I
might
think
be
what I did was warm up the first one that I had. I just put it in
okay.
my little toaster oven and warmed it up. And then
Okay,
I was still picking up the cold. And I'm like, it's just as good. I mean, yes, of course, it's probably the best when it's right out of the pan, when it's more
mm,
freshly greasy. We talk a lot about grease in this episode, but in a good way.
it's
Like
good grease.
that fried, crispy
Mm,
texture. But they're good cold too. And because there's nothing in there that can't be served cold,
true.
wrap them in foil and pop them in your backpack. Pull those out to snack on. Oh, I think it would be delicious.
Maybe these will make it backpacking with me this summer.
Yeah, I think so.
Mm-mm. And they were really good with sour cream with them.
Hmm. I ate it that way too, actually.
Ooh.
Because that was my thought. It's kind of
Yeah.
like, I don't know, it just sour cream goes with a savory pancake, in my opinion.
Always.
Yeah.
It's like taking the pierogi, sans the potato, plus with the green onion,
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
right?
It's like an inside out pierogi with, yeah. Yeah, I see where you're going with that.
Well, we might be stretching that one only between our brains, but
We're the only ones who need to know what we mean, really.
that's okay.
No, I hope the listener understands us once in a while at least.
Yeah. Once you roll out the pancakes, you can put them between parchment, stack them, and freeze them. And then you can cook them fresh
Oh, there you go.
according to the recipe instructions here. Parchment, really important, not wax paper.
Put them in your cooler, and then by
Yeah.
the time you're ready to have dinner, let them thaw out, fry them up. Oh, I think that's delicious. I want to put on my list.
Yeah. Totally worth the little bit of effort. And it feels, I don't know, it's kind of a neat little recipe. It feels like something, your grandma would be in the kitchen banging around doing, right? I love that
Yeah.
kind of thing. So, yeah. Scallion pancakes.
Approved.
Good. And
Give it a
now for the
stamp.
fine print.
There you
Links
go.
to recipes and other things we 5 talked about in this happy episode
Erin
can be
heads.
found in the show notes or on our
Out
website,
of 5. I've done that for a while. I can remember to put it in the video.
www.threekitchenspodcast.com. Come say hello on Instagram, Facebook, Threads, YouTube, and TikTok. We'd love to connect. And if you enjoy the show, pass it on. Word of mouth is the #1 way people learn about new podcasts. Thank you so much for listening.